uh, many of you have requested because of this Janmashtami. So let's start. Yesterday, in the previous class, we had seen the design principles, hierarchy, then regularity, then modularity, which defines parallelization, which enables parallelization of the design process. Then we had seen locality, so to avoid actually the long distance interconnections, because these also contribute uh, a, a significant amount of delay, okay, in the whole design process, in the whole design circuit. Then we started with the full custom design style, and it is done from the scratch, okay. So it takes a whole lot of time, effort, and money, but the result is good, that you will get a very high perform I mean the highest performance chips out of this full custom design style, okay. Then standard cell based design gives you a library from which you can pick up the components and design your circuit, okay. So you have various flavors of components present in the library, okay. You have wide variety of each of these components, of varying capacity, of varying in terms of capacity, means in terms of their fan in, fan out, the power dissipation, the delay, and all other things, okay. Then this is a simple floor plan for a standard cell based design. Here all the standard cells are to be placed, okay, in these horizontal rows, and the space in between would be used for wiring or the interconnections between these standard cells, okay. And these peripheral squares are actually for input and output pins, the locations of input and output pins, okay. And this is okay, and this is the actual layout. So these at the bottom side, the three blocks, the three black blocks are the placement for the memory, okay. Memory bank, these are called memory banks, okay. And this is the area where standard cells would be placed and routed, okay. These black lines, horizontal lines, are the placement of standard cells, okay. And their interconnections are also shown with thin vertical lines like that. And we have the pin placement around this chip on the peripheral side, okay. We have these pins, okay. So next is this gate array design, right? Okay. So what happens is that mm, uh, the idea is ultimately we have to fabricate transistors, okay, on the chip, and then those transistors would be connected to form a proper circuit, proper working circuit, okay. So here what do they do is they give you already the prefabricated transistors, okay. These individual transistors are already prefabricated and made available to the user, okay. And these transistors are not interconnected, they are individual transistors which are available and which are independent for connections, okay. And since these are not connected, they are called as uncommitted transistors, so they are not committed to any circuit or any other transistor, okay. They are independent, okay. So the idea is to we have transistors, okay, and now we will have a circuit that will that will be a interconnection of many transistors. Okay, so the way in which those transistors are connected, we have to figure out that way. Okay, and with the help of some with the help of metal lines. Okay, with the help of metal lines, with the help of metal layers or metal lines, we can impose this metal line, metallization, metal layer on this already available transistors. Okay, and we can connect the transistor in a way that will be suitable for our circuit. Okay, so this is the idea. Okay, so the first phase, okay, which is based on generic standard mask, results in an array of uncommitted transistors. So these are actually uncommitted transistors. Okay, and these uncommitted chips can be stored for later customization, which is completed by defining the metal interconnects between the transistors of the array. Okay, and these are the metal layers or metal interconnections, which is to be defined by the user. Okay, so this will be made available. This will be made available. Okay, already, and these metal layers will be defined by the user. Okay, and then this metal layer will be imposed on the wafers, which is containing actually these uncommitted transistors, and then a proper interconnection will be formed between these various transistors. Look at here, these transistors are connected now. Now here they were not connected, they were individual transistors. Okay, but here the transistors are connected with the help of these metal layers, which is defined by the user. Okay, so the idea is the transistors will be made available to you, and you will have to use those transistors. We will have to connect those transistors by defining the metal layers, which is according to your specified design. Okay, so this gate array design, okay, in terms of fast prototyping capability, the gate array ranks second after FPGA. So it's also a fast prototyping process, okay, with a typical turnaround time of a few days. So in a few days of matter, few days of time, you can have a working circuit. Okay, but it is uh, it still comes second after FPGA, because FPGA is super fast. You can have your circuit tested on an FPGA board, FPGA chip, okay, within a matter of few hours. Okay, so it cannot beat FPGA in terms of fast prototyping. Okay, because FPGA already contains the chip. FPGA already contains the chip. Okay, and we have to just perform the programming and use that chip. But here, the chip, uh, we cannot say that chip is here. Only the chip. What can I say? Maybe partial chip. Okay, the chip contains only uncommitted transistors. Okay, and then we define the metal layers. Okay, and with the help of some custom mask, okay, we impose these metal layers on these uncommitted transistors to form our circuit. Okay, so in for FPGA chip, the programming is essential, while user programming is central to the design implementation of the FPGA chip. Metal mask design, okay, because we are using metal layers here, we always use metal layer for connecting those transistors. Okay, metal mask design and processing is used for gate array design. Okay, so this shows a corner of a gate array chip, okay, which contains bonding pads on its left and bottom edges. So these are the bonding pad, this one, these ones. Okay, diodes for IO protection. So like these one are the diodes for IO protection, and NMOS transistors and PMOS transistor for chip output driver circuits. Okay, and adjacent to bonding pads. For example, this is big P, big big PMOS transistors. These are big PMOS transistors, NMOS transistors like these ones. Okay, so these are the auxiliary circuits, auxiliary parts which are available on the periphery of the chip. Okay, so this is just one part of, this is one corner of the whole chip. Now in the main body, okay, what we have, uh, we have arrays of NMOS transistors and PMOS transistors. Okay, so actually these uh, all these things, are actually the array of these NMOS and PMOS transistors. Okay, although it also contains some other required elements, but most of them are the array of NMOS and PMOS transistors. Okay, which will be available for user for to define its circuit, to make its circuit. Okay, and it will have some underpass wire segments, then power and ground buses along with contact windows like this. So in a chip we have many things apart from just transistors. We should have the auxiliary components, and then the pin locations, pads. Okay, then some big NMOS and PMOS transistors for chip output driver circuit. Okay, and many other things. But the idea is this: on the periphery we have the other components. Okay, like most of them are the bonding pads, which defines the location of the pins, input and output pins, and the way in which these pins should be connected to the internal transistors. So there should be some circuit for these also. Okay, so these are available here, and this, the main body area, will be containing an array, an huge array of NMOS and PMOS transistors. Okay, and these are the actually PMOS and NMOS transistors which would be used by the user to make its circuit. Okay, so
Yes, sir.
yeah, construct a common base array of transistors and personalize the chip by altering the metallization. Okay, that is placed on the top of transistors. So the transistors are made available to you, and you will have to connect those transistors with the help of metal layers. Okay, with the help of metal layers, and then that thing will work as per your design circuit. Okay, a particular subclass of a gate array is known as C of gates chip, SOG, C of gates. So what is a C of gate? uh, Here, the entire chip surface is covered with uncommitted NMOS and PMOS transistors. Okay. The entire surface is covered with only NMOS and PMOS transistors, which are uncommitted, which are not connected to any other transistor. Okay. As in the gate array case, neighboring transistors can be customized using a metal mask to form basic logic gates. Okay. So the thing is here that even for making interconnections between different transistors, because here we are having only transistors, NMOS and PMOS transistors, which are uncommitted. Okay, so how do we perform the interconnection between these transistors? Even for performing the interconnection between these transistors, these uncommitted transistors are used. Okay, so it's a sea of gates that contains only transistors. Okay, so these transistors are used for performing the logical functions as well as the interconnections between different transistors. Okay, so it is used for making both the circuit and the interconnections. Okay, because it contains only the transistors. It doesn't have the space, or it does not provide the uh, facility to interconnect transistors by using separate wires or interconnections. No, separate interconnections are not provided here. You will have to use the transistors itself to connect different transistors. Okay, so it's called a sea of gates. So the typical platform of a sea of gate chip, which will contain only transistors, nothing else. Okay, and this is the VDD, the power supply rail here, VDD. Okay, and we should also have the ground rail. I think this is the VSS, the ground rail, like that. Okay, so here is the difference. That shows the difference between the channeled gate array, okay, the channel gate array, and the channel less gate array design. Okay, so this is the channel less, this is channel less, and this is channel gate array. This is channel less gate array, so it does not contain channel also, it contains channel. So these are the channels. Look at these white spaces, white horizontal spaces. Okay, this one, white horizontal spaces. So these are the space provided for channeling between different transistors. And where are the transistors? The transistors are these one, these black lines. Okay, so these horizontal section, black color, they contain transistors, these ones. So the shaded portion contain transistors, and the white portion does not contain transistor. It's a space that would be used for wiring or interconnections. But here you will not find any such space for wiring. All around, all inside this area, you will find only transistors. Everywhere only transistors. But we in the circuit, only transistors means what? We should have some sort of wiring facility also in order to connect different transistors. So in turn, these transistors are uh, used itself for performing the interconnection between different transistors. Okay, so here routing problem is simpler, okay, with only one metal layer. Okay, but here there is a flexibility in channel definition. Okay, because here channel is defined, the channel space is defined, but here you can use any of the transistors to form as a logic part or a channel part. There is a flexibility in defining the channel position. Okay. And over the cell routing, then it will give you higher packing density. This one, it's a RAM compatible and supports variable height cells and macro cells. Okay, so these terms will also become clear as we will move in the syllabus. But the main difference between channeled and channel-less gate array is that you have dedicated corridor for channel here, but we does not have any corridor for channel. Here only transistors are here. Okay, and in the periphery we will have the same, these input and output pin locations. Okay, IO bonding pads here in both of these cases. So the only difference is in the internal area, in the internal area. Okay, okay, so uh, So this was about this was about gate array design. Okay. Now we will see about this FPGA, field programmable gate array. I think this is the last design style. Okay. Okay. So this is also called as FPGA, field programmable gate array. Okay. And in the lab also we are having different FPGA kits which can be used, which will be used for our labs. We will see these things, those things. Okay. So for example, for this FPGA we have the basis 3 board. Okay. We have Nexus board also, and we also have the Zinc board. Okay. Which can be used for performing FPGA based experiments. So these are the actual boards, actual hardwares, which can be used for testing the circuit. Okay. Now, because the board is already made available to us, the hardware is already there, the chip is already there, prefabricated. It's like Arduino board. Okay. So the way in which you use Arduino board, in the same way, in the similar way, we will use FPGA board. Okay. The thing is that here the programming will be different, and the way in which we access these boards will be a bit different as compared to Arduino. The process would be similar. Okay. So because the hardware is already made available to us, we just have to do the programming part and dump it on these chips, these board. So in this way, the prototyping of any circuit becomes very fast. It can be done in a matter of few hours. Okay. So you can test your circuit on the hardware whether your circuit is working properly or not. So that is the biggest advantage. Okay. So wherever there is a fast prototyping required, and where you want to manufacture a limited number of chips, you want to produce a limited number of circuits, in those cases we can use FPGA based design style. Okay. So here ready-made fabricated FPGA chips containing thousands or even more of logic gates with programmable interconnects are available to users for their custom hardware programming to realize desired functionality. So ready-made fabricated chips are made available. They contain thousands or lakhs of logic gates, okay, depending on the type, and they can be accessed with the help of programming, okay, and any desired functionality can be tested on these FPGA chips. So we do not manufacture any kind of chip here in this FPGA design style. We do not manufacture any specific chip. The chip is already available to us. We just uh, verify the functionality of the chip design on this FPGA chip. Okay. The design style provides a means for very fast prototyping. Okay, and also for cost-effective chip design, especially for low-volume applications. Okay, for those applications where uh, less number of chips are to be produced. Okay, for those things, this becomes a cost-effective solution. Okay, otherwise, for very high volume, the case where we need to produce very high number of chips, in for those cases, it will become a costly affair. Okay. So it is not used for prototyping microprocessors or those things, because microprocessors are to be manufactured in huge numbers. Okay. So what does a FPGA contain? FPGA chip consists of I/O buffers, okay, input-output buffers, an array of configurable logic blocks, CLBs, and programmable interconnects structures. Okay. So CLB is the main part which perform the logical function. Okay. Logical function is performed by this CLB, the main it can be said as the heart of this FPGA. Okay, and you'll have the programmable interconnect structure, then interconnects which can be programmed, okay, to connect various components within these CLBs within this FPGA architecture. Okay, so look at here. This is an architecture of Xilinx FPGA, simple architecture. On the periphery, we have these I/O blocks. This one, okay, these ones, these square present on the periphery. These are I/O blocks, input/output blocks. Okay, and these lines are the routing channels. Routing means they are used for interconnections, or these are the wires. In the general sense, you can also say that these are the wires. Okay, horizontal wires and vertical routing channel and horizontal routing channel. Okay, and in between we have these square boxes, which are actually this CLB, configurable logic block, which means that these are actually logic blocks. Okay, logic blocks which are configurable in nature. So we can configure these logic blocks according to our functionality, according to the function of our designed circuit. Okay, so these are, and these routing channels are programmable, so we can program these routing channels. Okay, and we can configure these logic blocks according to our design functionality, and then we connect these different logic blocks because our circuit may be big. These are small, these CLBs have got small capacity to perform some logical operation. So if your circuit is big, you need to connect many number of such CLBs. Okay, and how would you connect such CLBs, which are many in number? With the help of routing channels. And for this thing, these routing channels should be programmable in nature. So we can actually program these routing channels in order to connect different CLBs according to our design. Okay. Look at here. So this is an internal structure of CLB. So a configurable logic block internally, what does it contain? So it will contain a block for logical function. Okay, these are 4 input logical functions which can be used for performing logical functions having 4 inputs and 1 output. This is also 4 input and 1 output. These again logical function. It will have some multiplexers. Okay, these are the multiplexers, and it will have some control part also. Okay. And it will have a mechanism for clock signal also. Okay, and it will have some flip-flops present inside it. Okay, this is the clock part. Clock. Okay, so it overall it contains some combinational logic function blocks which can be used for performing any logical functions, any Boolean expression. So these are also called as LUTs, lookup tables. Okay, so lookup tables are those logical functions which can be used for performing any kind of logical equation. Any logical equation you want to implement, that can be implemented on a particular LUT. Okay, and it will have some multiplexers which will be used for selecting some particular functions. Okay, and then it will have some flip-flops and a clock signal, and they are connected in a proper way so that you obtain the desired functionality. Okay, so these are the different blocks which are present inside CLB, configurable logic block. So each CLB contains two independent 4-input combinational function generators, a clock signal, user programmable multiplexers, and two flip-flops. Okay, right. For example, Xilinx XC4000 family of FPGAs, the size of the CLB array can range from 8 into 8, 64 CLBs to 32 into 32, that is 1024 CLBs. Okay, a family, for example, this is just an example. XC4000 is a family of FPGA which can contain anywhere between 64 to 1024 number of CLBs. Okay, where the latter example has an approximate gate count of 25,000. So 1024 CLBs would be containing around 25,000 number of gates. Okay. Our typical FPGA chips can support system clock frequencies between 50 and 100 megahertz. Okay. The largest advantage of FPGA based design is very short turnaround time. This is the biggest advantage. You can design and test your circuit on an FPGA within a matter of few hours. Okay. And the typical price of FPGA chips is usually higher than other alternatives such as gate array or standard cell of the same design. But for small volume production of ASIC chips and for fast prototyping, FPGA offers a very valuable option because you will have to buy those boards. Okay, the basis 3 board, for example, it would come something 12,000 to 15,000 rupees. So you have to buy those boards in order to use these ones. Okay. Okay. Now,
Sir,
yeah,
the turnaround time means the time taken to test.
yeah, the time taken to actually the whole, we can say the complete time that it takes to design your circuit and to test it. So, for example, you let me give you an example. For example, if you want to design adder, that is a 4-bit. Okay, so first you will do the programming part using SDL, Verilog, or VSDL, whatever. Okay, then you will go for simulation, that is verification. Then you will go for synthesis. Okay, then you will implement this in Vivado. Okay, and then you will go for hardware dumping. Hardware dumping means you will test it on the FPGA chip. Okay, so right from programming to the hardware dumping or testing on the chip, how much time does it takes? This can be said as the turnaround time, because the design of the circuit has started right from the programming part. Okay, right from programming, the design process has started, right, and it will end at hardware dumping at here. So the total time that it takes is the turnaround time. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Uh, so, like I said, that these contain interconnects which are programmable in nature. So look at here, for example, um, these are the horizontal and vertical routing channels. Okay. The junctions at which these vertical and horizontal lines meet. Okay, if you zoom in, you will look, it will look like this. So it will have, this is the vertical line, okay, this is the horizontal line. Okay, and it will have 1 2 3 4 5 and 6. Okay, 6 connections like this. Okay, and in these connections, in these dotted line connections, it will have transistors. Okay, it will have transistors. So for example, if I want to connect this line to this line, I will need to make this line work, right? So the transistor present on this particular line would be turned on, okay, and the transistors on other lines would be turned off, so that there would be a connection that gets established between this and this. Suppose I want to connect this line not with this but with this. In that case, this will not be programmed, but rather this line will be programmed in such a way that the transistor gets turned on and this line gets connected with this line. Okay, so in this way the routing between various wires are established. The connections between various wires are established. So 6 pass transistors per switch matrix interconnect point. So like I said, it contains 6 possibilities, 6 different connections, and each of these 6 different connections there will be one pass transistor which can be programmed to be turned on or turned off, right? And this one whole point is called as a switch matrix interconnect point. Okay, so the programming of the interconnect is accomplished by programming of RAM cells whose output terminals are connected to the gates of MOS pass transistors. Okay, and this programming also we will see in the lab. Okay, thus the signal routing between the CLBs and IO blocks is accomplished by setting the configurable switch matrices accordingly. Okay, so these are CLBs. Okay, and these are the switch matrices, okay, which will be programmed for connecting different routing channels. Okay, and these are the logical blocks, and this is CLB, and these are the switch matrix block, right? Okay, after this let's have a quick look on the comparison of different design styles. Like we had seen the full custom, the standard cell, the gate array, and FPGA. Okay, so when area is considered, full custom will give you a very small circuit, okay, which is small in size, and standard cell based design will give you small to moderate area circuit, and in gate array it will be a moderate. FPGA would give you a large area circuit because the chip is already there. Okay, we cannot modify that chip. You can use that chip, but you cannot modify. Okay? You cannot modify that board. Okay, performance wise, full custom will give you the highest performance chips. It will be high to moderate in the case of standard cell based, moderate for gate array, and low performance for FPGA. Okay. Fabrication layers, all the layers are here, all the layers are here also. In gate array we can use metal layers, okay, for connecting those uncommitted transistors, and in the case of FPGA there is no requirement of any fabrication layers, okay, because in the chip already those things are prefabricated. Okay, we are not going to fabricate anything in the case of FPGA. Okay, design time is usually very high in the case of full custom. It's high to moderate for standard cell based design, moderate for gate array, and it's low for FPGA based design. Okay. Then these are some more comparison between these different styles. Cell size, in the case of full custom it's variable. Cell size, what is a cell? A cell, you can at this time you can imagine it as a small logic block, or maybe a single transistor. Okay, the small logic block or maybe a single transistor. So cell size can be variable in full custom. It's fixed in standard cell based design because it's there in the library. We cannot change the library. In gate array the uncommitted transistors are already prefabricated, so also we cannot change, it's fixed. In FPGA also it's fixed, in PLD also it's fixed. And cell type, placement and interconnections. All these flexibilities are there in full custom because it is doing it from the scratch. So all these things are flexible actually. Okay. Cell type is variable. In standard cell based design, you have a large variety of cells available, yeah, in the library. So in that sense, it can be varied. Okay. In gate array, it's already prefabricated. The uncommitted transistors are fabricated there, and you will find only one kind of uncommitted transistors fabricated. Yeah. In FPGA, it's programmable. In PLD, it's programmable. Cell placement. In standard cell based design, we had seen that it was placed in rows. Okay. In gate array, it's fixed. FPGA, it's fixed. Interconnections, it is variable here in standard cell based design. Variable here also. And here it is programmable. Okay. So these are some comparison which will give you some insight that uh, and one more point, you cannot outshine any one design style completely because each of these are having their own specific application. Okay. For certain applications, full custom design style is perfect, and for certain applications, FPGA is perfect. Okay. So depending on the type of applications that a particular chip will be used for, a particular design style is chosen. Okay. Okay. Then okay, uh, with this we have covered these four different design styles. Okay. So I will stop the class here for today, and if there is any doubt, you can ask. If there is any doubt, you can ask. Either you can write in the chat box your doubts, or you can ask via your microphone. And give your attendance in the chat box. Write your roll number and name, and post it in the chat box. So today we have 52 students, right? And the strength is around 69. We will start the lab session shortly. Okay, maybe from the next or next week. Okay, so we will see some labs online. I will tell you how to do it online. Okay, so that you can have at least some touch about the lab experiments.
Sir, any news about college reopening?
Uh, no, only when the notice come from the college, then it will be opened. Okay. Right now we don't have any information. Okay, when it will open for, because last year students are here, they are having their offline classes, but for first year, second year, and third year, when it will be opening, we don't have idea. Okay, it will come when it will open, the notice will come. Okay, and we can hope that it will open in short near future. Okay, because all the things are being opened up, and in the whole country, schools are opening, the colleges are opening. So I hope that students will be called here also in near future. But when, we don't know. Okay.